Chapter 2. I don't think any of us heard what Queen Gloriana said for at least the first 2 minutes. We are all too busy staring. Fairy Angora was so lovely and her dress was totally amazing. It was made of some strange floaty material and it kept changing color. First, it was soft pink, and then palest blue, and then it drifted back to pink again. I suddenly realized Queen Gloriana was still talking. And so, princesses, she said, as the fairy godmother agency is extremely short-staffed, Fairy Angora has agreed to come, even though she has not yet quite completed her training. And now, please give Fairy Angora a huge welcome to the Princess Academy. Of course, we all clapped wildly. As we moved out of the Great Hall, there was a massive buzz of excitement. Fairy G usually took the next lesson, how to avoid magical mistakes, so maybe we'd have Fairy Angora instead. We practically ran to the classroom. As we pulled out our chairs, there was a tinkling noise and Fairy Angora floated in. "Ooh," she said, and her voice was small and sweet and whispery. "Aren't you all the sweetest little darlings? Now, what shall we do first?" She looked around our classroom. "Oh dear, so boring. Shall we make this a pretty room?" And she waved her wand. Silver sparkles flew in all directions, and the next minute there were roses everywhere. Perfecta put up her hand. "Excuse me," she said, "but that was fantastic. What else can you do?" Fairy Angora went pink and fluttery. "Oh, quite a lot of things, really. Of course, I hadn't got as far as pumpkins and coaches. That's next term." Perfecta smiled, a hugely full smile. "So," she said, "do you know about wishes?" "Oh, yes," Fairy Angora beamed. "I know all about wishes." And then, would you believe it? Perfecta burst into absolute floods of tears and sobbed. "That's so wonderful. Please, 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 can I have a wish? I've got nothing to wear to the Grand Assembly." Princess Perfecta is very clear. We all knew she wasn't really crying, but enormous tears were streaming down her cheeks as she gazed imploringly at Fairy Angora. Fairy Angora hesitated. "Well," she said slowly, "I'm not really supposed to give wishes because I don't have my final certificate." "Boo-hoo-hoo!" Perfecta threw herself onto the floor. "I'll be the only princess wearing tatters and rags." "No, you won't," Sophia snapped. None of us got anything special to wear." Emily asked. "She got the most beautiful new dress and a sparkling new tiara." Perfecta wailed. "Dear Fairy Angora, you look so kind. Please help me." Fairy Angora was looking very upset herself. "You poor girl," she said. "Maybe it would be all right if I gave you just a little wish." Of course, Perfecta stopped crying at once. She sat bolt upright. "I'd like a dress," she said. "A dress like Emily's." Fairy Angora's wand really was very sparkly, and it glowed a beautiful forget-me-not blue as she waved it. Tingle ping! The dress was exactly like mine. I couldn't say anything though, because suddenly everybody was asking for wishes. Honestly, I couldn't hear myself think. I really shouldn't. I mean, I can't. But it wouldn't be fair if we don't all have wishes. Ermentrude thumped her fist on the table. No, Florine whined. It won't. Poor Fairy Angora went very pale. I'll see what I can do, she said. Only please don't all talk at once. I felt so sorry for her. She looked as if she was about to burst into tears herself. Why don't we ask in turn? I suggested. Fairy Angora gulped. Who's first? She asked. Florine wanted a tiara just like mine. Lisa chose a new dress, and so did Jemima. And then everybody wanted dresses except for Nancy. She asked for a tiara decorated with silver butterflies. Fairy Angora looked more and more anxious as the dress piled higher and higher, and I suddenly wondered if the magic was wearing out. Her wand had almost stopped sparkling, and was a funny pale yellow color. Then Freya's dress came out blue instead of pink, and Jemima had spots instead of bows. Ask for something easy, I whispered, and at last it came to our turn. Charlotte asked for curly hair. Katie asked for new shoes, and Daisy for a better boa. Sophia asked for a silk shawl, and Alice wanted sparkly socks. I was last, and I couldn't think of anything. Honestly, I couldn't. The only thing I really wanted was tiara points, and it would have been so cheating to ask for those. In the end, I asked for a powder puff. Fairy Angora waved her wand for the last time. One single silver spark floated into the air, and then, tingle plunk, there was my powder puff and a pot of sparkly powder. It was so pretty. Charlotte began to clap, and everyone joined in, even Perfecta and Florine. Fairy Angora looked a little bit brighter. I do hope you enjoy your wishes, she said. Or maybe you should take your dresses and hang them up. At once there was a dash for the door, and I noticed something weird. Do you remember I told you Nancy wanted a tiara with butterflies on it? Well, the butterflies had turned into tiny silver caterpillars.